Welcome, creatives, community, and kind folks, to RPG with DBJ. I am your host, and welcome to the channel. I really appreciate you guys being here. If you cannot be here live, I appreciate you taking part in the show in any way you can. The show is broadcast over Twitch, YouTube, and our own Discord server. You may participate in the show that way or drop a comment in. I will be sure to get to it. I read them all. All right, so this week we're going to do a cutting class series where we take the classic Dungeons and Dragons classes and we're going to talk about them all week long. And you may wonder, well, how can you talk about Dungeons and Dragons classes all week long? Well, each day is a different theme. So we had Monster Monday yesterday. Today is Trope Tuesday, which has Tuesdays have been all my fault, have been different themes, but essentially it has become a grab bag. But I am a consummate television and movie lover, and I love tropes and breaking them, which is why the series is called Cutting Class. So I thought we would talk about the trope of the classic bard, mainly because for one reason, I'm not really a fan of the classic trope, and I like backing myself into a corner, and I thought you guys would help me out here a little bit. Des, what's going on there? Morning. Good morning, everyone. So the classic bard is this minstrel-like figure that tells stories or maybe sings songs, writes ballads and whatnot, and tells these great, engaging, thematic stories that might have a warning involved based on your behavior, especially those told to children to watch out for strangers or going out into the woods or not putting your hand in a fire or eating poisoned berries or something. Or they may be told about great heroes, a long line of nobles, dangerous creatures, things of that nature. And one of the things that tends to run along the line of the trope of the bard comes from two angles. One of them is the bard tends to be not in the class system, or might be even lower class, or even an outcast who brings a warning to someone in power or people in power. And simply by mentioning that something may happen, very, very much aligned with like the going to the oracle and demanding from the oracle to tell me what my future might be. The same thing, the bard kind of fills that role where the bard brings strange tidings to a small community, very much like throwing a rock into a river, a pristine river, and seeing the ripples roll out, simply by broadcasting information to everyone and letting letting the very tenuous house of cards tumble down simply by people's opinions of what they hear, whereas the incidents themselves may not be a thing. The other version, coming from another angle, is the bard who is above everyone else. And the bard above everyone else, rather, as opposed to lower class or the outsider, is the person who tells the community they are the lore keeper, they are the historian, they are the individual that warns of, like, I told you not to do these things, and the naive or rebellious heroes go out and try to do the thing, and the thing happens anyway. Very much like, or they are the individual that happens to have mentions that history repeats itself, or sure, I wasn't there, but I can tell you that these things happen, and they are the ones who understand the machinations going on behind the scenes, simply by intuition. And then the protagonists of the story, the player characters, are the ones who don't know, but essentially the bard becomes almost the quest giver. They are the ones who tell the stories of a time long ago. And Game of Thrones has done this subtly in within the books, and sometimes even hi hey. Sometimes sorry, though, someone has else has popped into the chat and let themselves be known. But Game of Thrones has done this subtly when it comes to within the setting of Game of Thrones. There is this ancient, almost mythological storytelling, and then it's overlaid with the practicality of what's going on now, and you get this image of this cycle where the actions of people of things people are doing today might become the mythology of the future, which the mythology that is laid out presently might literally be the same things that the player characters, the main characters are going through at the time. So bards do become like these. They become like these engines of activity where when information is let out, whether it's about, whether it's broadcasting these vaguely names of people who have been changed very subtly, but talking about like indiscretions or theft of money or lying or cheating or uh, lack of integrity or something about people in the community, and then everyone, of course, it's a thinly veiled story about the people that everyone lives around, and they start looking at each other. That's actually far more common in even modern day storytelling than a little bit. Take a look at any medical show, and there a patient comes in, some unnamed patient comes in and looks at all the main characters and then says something out loud that causes all the main characters to have a little bit of a tizzy, right? Like, oh, you two must be in a relationship. And of course, all the characters in the show are like, they're in a relationship? I never noticed. But this person with rebar stuck through their chest automatically notices it. It's that kind of thing. Bards tend to be a placement for like the oracle, the predictor, the one who has consummate empathy. And I think kind of pulling on, because I didn't really go into it too much on Monster Monday, but the bardic tradition is a really good way to to incorporate some of your like great monsters that you might want to include in the game as well. So if you're someone who loves like a sphinx or a nagas, or because I like those mid-level creatures, oni or ogre magi, like monsters that are magicals, lamias. The Dungeon Cast just did a episode on lamias. They pronounce it lamia. I always pronounce it lamia, but doesn't matter. But these hags are included in that group. If you want to give some intelligence to maybe some of the more mindless creatures, maybe they become the bards of your world. Like, say, an ogre mage geisha sounds awesome. We have someone named Omen, and I'm sure they would absolutely agree with you. Now it depends. Are you talking like a 9 foot um, upward tusked kind of geisha, or a geisha shaped around the statistics of an ogre mage? Which I think both of them sound pretty cool to me. Both of them sound pretty cool, and a lot of the creatures, especially the ones that have innate shape changing. Um, Andreas Martin's like, yeah, they are shapeshifters, so both. I like it, and um, I think this is a great way to kind of like make neutral monsters where their alignment doesn't need to be neutral, but they don't need to be aggressive. They could just be um, pushing individuals towards directions by simply telling stories or giving out information that they of course are reluctant to give out, but well, it's just between you and me and blah blah blah, and then they say something and they cause a ripple effect simply by giving out the information that they have. It also makes a really great worm tongue like character, right? Like whether it's a monster or an NPC, the bard, the worm tongue, Lord of the Rings, the movies, the person that speaks in the ear of the king, right? It not You don't have to have a king. It doesn't necessarily need to literally be a person speaking in someone's ear, but it's the right hand individual that speaks to one or more people in power, and that's where they get their information from. It's the it's their Google service uh, speaking into the ear, and the player characters or the protagonists in your game might be like, okay, I'm trying to talk to the crime lord. Who's this other person who keeps speaking in their ear? Also, it might be the person who happens to have their ear to the ground, right? It's any every crime story has that individual. Yep, Dead Man says historically William Shakespeare was known for his title as the Bard of Avon. Yes, the and a lot of the William Shakespeare plays. He even wrote a play where within the play, one of the characters has a play that displays the inner workings of what's going on around the main characters, if you understand what I'm saying, right? So William Shakespeare's plays might be making fun of or um, displaying to the public what everyone else is thinking, right? The bard says what everyone else is thinking in their head, and it's like, oh, I kind of thought they were having an affair, but now that they mention it, or some people might be thinking, like, I knew there was something wrong. That kid has blonde hair. The brother and sisters are both blonde headed. I wonder where this kid came from. It's putting it out there, and a number of these charm monsters, and I'm calling them charm monsters because they usually have a combination of like, thanks, Cam. They usually have a combination of high charisma, hypnosis, shape changing, illusion, like a little confluence of those, and some of them have been noted to want to create strife or something. And fiends, succubus, and incubus. Why am I doing that? Incubi and succubi, um, doppelgangers. All these type of shape changers or nagas who have like charm monsters, sphinxes. Uh, they really can be really cool if you want to put them into the game, especially if you don't want to make them the big bad guy yet, but you want to include them. They could be a contact. Like there was an old movie called The Golden Child, and they had to go speak to a knowledgeable person in Chinatown, and there was this person hiding behind a silken screen who had a lot of knowledge, and then when the main character goes to snatch down the screen, who was Eddie Murphy, there's this woman with a snake-like body and hissing and stuff in the background. Yep. Andreas Martin says, I never understood doppelgangers. They copy people, but why? Exactly. Like why? I mean, like what? Other than copying people, what is their purpose? Maybe this is a good way to find it out. Maybe they could be in knowledge and passion can be an economy of its own, right? So if a bard is out there collecting knowledge and then disseminating it out there through favors or money or through blackmail or something like that. Yeah, Dead Man says the Sage in Golden Child was a Naga. She didn't have arms? It's been a long time since I saw the Golden Child. Okay, Naga, good for awesome, right? But in that character in the Golden Child didn't even have a purpose. Like they never go back to it. It's just, oh, there's magic in the world, and you end up finding out there's magic. But yeah, doppelgangers might be using it to disseminate chaos. The chaos is a ladder. throw out chaos and you can climb it. Maybe doppelgangers are like spies in league with someone else. It could be that this is, strangely enough, this could be their biological way of survival. Like, hey, it could be temporary. Maybe doppelgangers can only, they revert to their normal state over a period of time, a short period of time, measured in months, weeks, days. Days seem a little bit too short, maybe weeks. And so when they take over one person, then they have to quickly move on to someone else. And it's necessary for them to, in order for them to hide in the community without raising suspicion, they have to throw it off to someone else. So it's good to get a lot of gossip, throw that rock into the pond, into the still pond, see the ripples. And of course, everyone ignores the original rock. They look at the ripple effect and what's going on there. So um, now with a passion economy has to deal with like fashion, music, art, all of the arts. And I think the trope of the music playing bard, I think, is a very limited one. Not that you can't have a bard that plays music, but I think A, it's very Eurocentric, and I think B, it disregards so many other artistic or expression like abilities that the bard falls into. Because despite having, hey kitty, um, despite having a musical instrument as a mechanical capability in the game, bards are known to have an inspiration mechanic, which I think they should have picked a different word because there's already an inspiration mechanic. But um, bards inspire people to be better than they are when they hang around each other, right? So if a bard is in the group, for good or bad, the words and actions of that bard make other people around them better. And so you want to hear um, what this other person has to say, whether that person is a mentor or a storyteller or an instructor or a military commander. Maybe you are inspired by their actions. So a dancer, a musician using musical instruments without words, a contortionist, um, a body piercer or acrobat or something. Bards also kind of represent that as well, where maybe their own movements, or like a sculptor, artist, a painter, you can look upon something that is very artistic and be inspired by it. Um, Yeah, Dante says, I liked bards as diplomats in Eberron. Courtly manners, bunch of knowledges, yep. Entertainers for parties, inspiration like leaders, bizarrely good fit. Yeah, and I think it's very easy to throw bards, much like halflings and gnomes, into like the comedic realm. The like like in the Discord, the idea that bards are always going around and trying to boink everything or be boinked by everything. Uh, it's it's like, I mean, sure, you can play it comedically that way, but not necessarily, right? It's the, bards can be very powerful politicians or public speakers or religious, be part of religious organizations or recruiters to a great war or something that's about to happen or whatever. Bards are great for that. Yeah, Des says it's like the Flash being mentored by Reverse Flash. Yep, that well, many seasons later, but even that first season where you have someone who's talking to the main character and little by little getting the oh, I cannot remember Reverse Flash's name. Oh, Eobart. It's some strange spelling from the future, but anyway. Um, Yeah, Dante says, I think that's something they did in Pathfinder. Sage or something like that was an alternate set. Yeah, and mind you, a lot of times words, we in the role playing community, we we tend to give words far more meaning than they need to. So anyone can play a bard and just layer on top of it sage, oracle, mentor, um, teacher, instructor, caregiver, like, any of those things matter. Dancer, sculptor, painter, um, all of that stuff. Poet, yeah, doesn't really care. Mechanics, just one thing. Just erase. It's basically rubbing off all the serial numbers. Andrea says maybe Sage is a better name for the class, and the inspiration thing varies from one bard to another, like music, information, art, plastic art. Yeah, I see where I know you were trying to say something else. Art, books, etc. Yep. Eobard Thane. Is it Thane? Pronounced Thane? Eobard Thane. There he is. Yeah. Dead Man threw in the Discord. Yep. Professor Eobard Thane, born 2151. And it would be rather interesting. There are a number of stories where a main character is instructed by their own future self or their past self, or like it's a short A. Eobard Thawne? Hmm. Fan? Th- th- Thawne? It doesn't matter. It's a made up name because all words are made up. The There is a trope where someone receives information from like their future self, or yeah, the a character goes back in time to instruct their younger self, or an ancestor is from the past tries to instruct a character in the future. Now, sure, if you go if you go Star Wars with a Force ghost, those characters aren't around very often, but it's still a thing, right? Where, hey, this person is my mentor, instructor, or whatever. A bard could be a relative, Hey, I'm your uncle. I was told when your uh, parents slash guardians passed away, I made a promise to take care of you. So or the young prince, older mentor, young prince, like the upcoming movie an upcoming Dune movie where Maldib, Paul Atreides, is the young prince, but there's an individual who's supposed to train him in etiquette and weapons and how to speak and how to dress. We see this in a lot of period pieces where there's a young lady, and the young princess, has to be trained by usually someone in like a servant's class, um, or an unmarried young lady, who, fold your legs, speak like this, stop being a tomboy, blah, blah, blah. So those characters, those tropes are always in the background. Now, as far as getting the trope of the bard being forward as opposed to in the background, I would say start looking at the docudramas of musicians, right? Where someone has a great gift in music or dance or art, and they are surrounded by an entourage of favorite people. Heck, we did a week of Entourage, and there's a television show called Entourage, and yeah, there's a bard in that one. If you really want to think about it, the main character that the entourage surrounds is a bard. This is an actor who's semi-popular and has a desire to want to express their inner self, but then they're given opportunities to make a lot of money, but there's no soul into it. And then there's this entourage around them of the wild one, the fighter, the one that likes to spend money, the shy one, the business minded one, and you could very easily have them relegated to like Dungeons and Dragons classes. So the the bard becomes the leader. The bard is the one who has the goal and speaks forth the truth. Or maybe there's a culture that is slowly being wiped out through physical means, combat, plague, natural disasters, and wants to keep their culture. And so the bard is the one that keeps the knowledge going, especially through a cultures that use a lot of like spoken word rather than writing things down. And maybe that character is now surrounded by the other character classes and the other PCs, the warrior to defend them, the religious person to call upon the gods or the sky or the elementals, the wizard who uses sympathetic magic, in their adventures and whatnot, and the bard becomes the leader. There's also you could also do this where, especially if you have like more of a mid to high level magic type of world where there are lots of, like, let's go back to like the ogre magi and the naga and such. Maybe your world's filled with a lot of these mystical or arcane beings, and a storyteller or a person who has knowledge or the person who has gossip or is the spy, the person who has their ear to the ground, a homeless person in any of our uh, media's, television, movies, etc., books, tends to be a bard, right? The proverbial person living in the alley and rolling the garbage, the old supermarket cart down the street. And where do the cops go? We need someone who's got their ear to the ground. Let's go over to the homeless person who just so happens to know lots of information and sends that information out. Sometimes there are legal shows where someone, a politician, a lawyer, um, a criminal, there's someone who speaks to the media. Their only job, their job function, literally is social media or public relations, and they're the ones who either speak directly to the public to sway public opinion, or they are there to train the main character in public opinion. Hey, when you get on air, don't be nervous. Don't grab your tie. Keep your hands there. You're going on television. Pat, pat, pat. Here's a better color. Green. The green makes your eyes pop. Get out there, tiger. Make sure you don't embarrass yourself. So the bard could kind of fill that role. Now, we have seen the swashbuckling, uh, we want to stoop everything that is sexually attractive bard. It's a bit of a trope, but again, if you want to really incorporate, yep. Andrew Martin says the coach bard, just do it. Yeah. How many sports uplifting movies have we seen where the coach comes in to wrangle together the hodgepodge of the disorganized players, and the coach comes in, who's downtrodden and has one more game in them, and then they bring everybody together. Bard is a perfect example of that. Sometimes the bard might even be, yeah, just do it. Do it. Yeah, exactly. What is it? Oh man. Anyway, sometimes you need that person who's like excitable and whatnot. Sometimes the bard might be the party, the 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 bro dude, or young lady that's always getting in trouble. The one who says, "Hey, let's go wild. Let's do the thing. Let's graffiti up the walls. Let's be underage and grab a 6-pack of beer. Let's go out and party and have fun and go wild." The individual that there's one character who has an inner strength but is really shy, doesn't want to leave home. Um, and then you have this other character that comes along and is like, "I'm gonna bring you under my wing. Let's get the heck up out of here. Let's like howl at the moon, literally, somewhere in the woods on top of a cliff or something." Like the bard is that individual that's like, "Hey, let's be fun. Let's have the wingman." Can be a bard as well. So I think sometimes bards, while they can be fun and you can have a lot of fun with them, the idea that you're like playing music in the middle of a battle is just kind of bizarre. I know there are musicians in ancient battles, whether there's drums, horns, flutes, because m- music can really get people's um, goat going, get your adrenaline pumping. When you hear a great song, or you hear your national anthem, and you're like, yeah, everybody's on the same page, and they're boom, boom, boom. You feel it. Also, the playing of music was a way to communicate to your allies when there's changes in the battle, right? Certain types of horn calls or drumming or probably symbols or whatever were used because you didn't have a way to communicate with a lot of people hacking and slashing at each other. So you can tell, go to the north, go to the south, retreat, move forward, watch out for archers. And I'm sure there's different sounds that people could accommodate themselves with. And of course, there's banners and things of that nature in battle. And I understand those. I'm talking about the lute and lyre and mandolin playing person fighting a dragon with three other people. That's a little bit ridiculous, I think. But I think it makes perfect sense during those short and long rests, right? Hey, you're out at the campfire and someone's using their flute or their mandolin or something, or they have a song, they're singing a particular song. We've seen this plenty of times in our um, ancient medieval themes or blood and sand, type of movies where they're the our intrepid heroes are they're camping out and someone begins singing, or they're at dinner and someone recites a bit of poetry, or again at the campsite the person strums a couple of lines and someone looks over at them because they're all like they're all bloodstained and bruised up and covered in dirt, and someone's like, hey, play us something uplifting, and then someone starts to strum a little bit, even though technically no one else knows the song, but then they all kind of join in after a while. And it might be it's the it's the lull excuse me, before the rising action happens. Very often happens very much. As a matter of fact, in a modern setting, how many times have we seen the emotional culmination when our main characters go to a bar and there's live music? There's a criminal who loves to have their certain lounge singer sing up on stage, and they're forced to sing there. Usually, some kind of femme fatale up on stage in like some kind of 1920s, prohibition era thing, with someone in a flapper dress, or singer in a flapper dress up on stage singing in a nightclub or something like that. um I Those are the types. Now I kind of wonder, this is just off the top of my head, I wonder, flavor wise, fluff wise, what is it, what's happening when a bard that no one likes or believes something is diametrically opposed to another party member, but grants inspiration to that party member, right? So imagine a bard from a a bard that has a criminal background and a paladin in the group who is opposed to what the bard stands for, but that bard gives that paladin inspiration. Like, what's happening there? Is the paladin listening and taking heed to what they're saying? Are they is it the opposite effect, where could you be an opposite bard where no one listens to you? Yes, like a land from Order of the Stick. Yeah, where Andrew says it's like when you see news that makes you angry. Yeah, maybe it's the flavor wise, it's opposite. So the person is giving out information that you can't stand, and you're like, "F that! I'm not paying attention to that." And then that inspires you to do a thing, making you better because you're not listening to the advice. I don't know. I mean, it. I like. Listen, I'm not talking about changing the mechanics. I don't mind the mechanics, but I love reframing it so it's like different than it should be, because like a bard very much could be a religious figure, right? Preaching out a thing, everyone listens to the person preaching, boom, they listen to the advice and it becomes better. Or um hey, what's on there, Wolf? Soul Free Wolf, what's up there? Coming in on the end here, because normally I have to stop these within a half an hour to like 40 minutes. So I'll be getting out of here pretty soon. So that's just because of my own personal um, real life. My IRL job has altered my schedule, so I got to get there a half hour early. So I got to cut the time off quite a bit. But yeah, I mean, is it like when the news you hear makes you angry, or you hear a bit of gossip from this other person, and you're like, hell no, I'm not a coward, or like I'm going to live up to my name or something. Like maybe they're giving you. It could be someone who's putting you down, like the whole vicious mockery thing, like, you know, hey paladin, you're not as righteous as you think you are. I know about all the dirt you and your family's been up to. And then the paladin doubles down, like, I'll show them how much integrity I have. Like, sure, it could be something like that. Now, the non-verbal inspiration part might be a little bit strange, but I could see that happening. Like, the movie Hero, where Donnie Yen and Jet Li's the main character in the movie Hero, and they have a mental duel, and there's a gentleman playing, and I don't know what the instrument is, Chinese instrument is, but it's flat and it's a stringed instrument and it's plucked, and it's got a very, I love the sound of it and the music that was done in that battle. And the musician gets ready to leave, and they tell him to stay, and they give him some coin or whatever because they want him to play his music while they have this battle. And maybe that music is the inspiration that's making them fight better. You know, the bard goes into battle with the other characters, and they're humming or they're whistling or they're like smiling in battle, and like yelling out poetry or something like that. Like it's almost like a Three Musketeers. Um, hey everybody, this is great fun, and everyone's looking at them like you're crazy, but that's awesome. Yeah, yep. Like Red Dice says, hi ho, it's off to battle we go. Do do do. Yeah, exactly. Show me your war face. No. could, could you imagine like the bard does the coaching thing, like the literal coaching? Yeah, witness me. Yeah. Slow motion jumping off the back of a speeding vehicle with flaming spears in your hand. Yep, yep, doing a goblin grenade jump. Witness me, and everyone's looking around like, damn, I want to be like that dude. Your blood will be our GP. Yeah. Oh man, yeah, level 1 bard, like level 20 bard sitting on the back of a truck, all like chained to it, strapped in, playing a guitar with flames blasting out of the back of it. Strap a bard on the back of the truck, boys. Here we go. I guess that is one of the perfect examples of an enslaved bard being forced to inspire your troops, even though they don't. Oh, that movie is so amazing. How the hell we were able to accept the fact that there's a person literally playing the soundtrack of the movie on the back of a vehicle moving at high speeds or something. I mean, like with all those speakers and stuff. But it is awesome. Although I suppose if you've got the electric guitar, you got to have some burning hands blasting out of the end of it. You're playing your heavy metal music or something. Oh goodness. Got me crying here. Anyways, it is funny though. But yeah, why not? Why couldn't a bard be like that? I think sometimes, and even though it is comedic and it is fun, um, I suppose you could do a mime bard or like a puppeteer bard or a, I don't know, tattoo bard, body painted bard. the uh what's the character, David Blaine, street mage bard, who um outwardly seems rather mundane and boring, but comes in and says a thing or does a thing, and then gets everybody else like riled up about doing the thing that has the thing. Like the bard that just happens to walk in dark clothing and hooded and everything, and leaves a note or whatnot, or just touches someone on the shoulder and goes, "Your long lost cousin, you know, I don't know, Tristan says to you that you are better than you think you are." And you're like, "Tristan? You know Tristan?" And then Bard just walks away without like, "Tristan, I haven't thought of Tristan in a long time. I miss Tristan. I'm gonna go into battle and do this for Tristan." Yeah. The masked Yeah, like the masked singer, the masked bard. Yep. Yeah, Andreas Bard says in Pathfinder you could make a painter bard who animates his own paintings. Yeah, like painting, sculpting, weaving. People who make like dream catchers. Native peoples here who make dream catchers. Tribal African tribal people carving masks. The henna tattoos. Um, uh, Oil paintings. What's the okay, my brain's going over a lot of things. Uh, Charcoal. Uh, it is ma- mandolins. No, 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 no. You use sand. Sand is used to make a very intricate pattern, but because it is made out of sand, it can also easily be blown away. What is that called? Before I get out of here, come on, you guys. I know you know it. I'm live. My brain is going crazy. Dead Man brings up the zither. That's the device. That's the musical instrument that was in played in Hero and is um, a a zither, any stringed musical instrument whose strings are the same length as its soundboard. The European zither consists of a flat, shallow sound box across which some 30 or 40 gut or metal strings are stretched. The strings nearest the player run above a fretted fingerboard and is often plucked because if that is a zither, you'll often see that on the laps of, because there's an Americanized zither then, if that makes sense, right? There's Americanized one that's made from a long board with strings across it and just played on the hurdy-gurdy. Red Dice says, "Here's what you need for a bard." Hurdy-gurdy, yeah. Dante brings up the sand mandala. Yeah, the sand mandala, where you have one or more, I'll call them monks, that pour the sand into these intricate patterns, but it's just made out of sand, piles of like colored sand that's really detailed and whatnot. Yeah, that's all. I love that. But a bard that is basically silent, that just makes these sand mandalas, that just draws these intricate patterns or something, and people look at it and they're all inspired in different ways by that. I think would make a lot of sense to be a great character or something. Or the bard who looks up into the sky and it is into astrology, and it's like, it says these very vague things that pretty much fit for anybody, but the person is still inspired, like, oh, you're in Jupiter. Jupiter ascended and Mars is in retrograde for your, that kind of thing. And then all of a sudden you're like, yeah, you're right. Dead Man puts in, is that a vertical mandala with sand pouring? The hurdy-gurdy is a stringed instrument that produces sound by a hand crank turned rosin rosined or rosined wheel rubbing against the strings. The wheel functions much like a violin bow, and single notes played on the instrument sound similar to those of a violin. Now, let's not get into some of the more obnoxious. Mandala. I'm calling it mandala. Mandala. Yes, 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 yes. But anyway, guys, gotta get out of here. Gotta go. Thank you, thank you so much. We're going to continue the conversation tomorrow, which is going to be really fun. I think when we do World Building Wednesday, because we're going to design a world that's been shaped by bards, which is going to be pretty interesting, I think. But anyway. All you guys always bring your A game. Thank you very much, everybody that joins in. Please like, share, subscribe. Thank you very much for being here in this station for the Imagine Nation, because you guys make up all the residents of this creative force that we have here. Thank you very much, guys. Have a great one. I'll see you later. Thank you very much for watching.